So data literacy and fluency, we are going to take it in this order. We are going to take data literacy, take up data fluency in that order. So have you been in an organization where, okay, so no need to say about the organization. I'm sure your day-to-day life, you have had conversation with people and you heard terms like over 50% of over 99% of UK people have cancer. I think over 90% of anybody that will apply for UK post-study visa will always get rejection. So you get to start, when people want to show emotion, you notice that they try using numbers carelessly and carefully. They put numbers without any form of data to back them up. And these are people who think they have literacy, they have knowledge over the data they are discussing or talking about, but they do not have anything. They don't have anything. So they are completely illiterate, but they think they are literate. And they try to also force it on you to believe that they are data literate. So as a data professional, it is your duty to query and question every form of number anyone puts out there. You need to query every number anyone puts out there. So you have to challenge them. And that is part of your skill as a critic. That is a part of your critical thinking skill. You need to criticize every number that is put out there. So in this our increasing world, so data has become like the fundamental component that shapes our daily life. Everywhere you go to, the word you speak, the step you make, your presence, anything you do, it's just about data. Even about talking to your friend, you talk to your friend about something around you, your apps are listening to you, you start seeing them on your social media um, timeline. This thing is because every part of our being now is data. And that is why it is our world now. And you are right to brag about being your world right now. And this data has a way to shape our daily lives, drive businesses, and influence decision-making processes across youths. So now data literacy and fluency are critical skills necessary for navigating this data-driven landscape. So as a data professional, if you want to go far, if you want to be a champion in what you're doing, a leader in what you're doing, an authority, you need to understand what data literacy and data fluency is all about. So let's take it one at a time. Data literacy, and we are laying the foundation. So it is the ability to collect, manage, evaluate, and apply data in a critical manner. So look at it this way. You have that knowledge, that skill set to collect data. When I mean collecting data, it doesn't matter how you're collecting it. Even if you're collecting it manually and typing it somewhere, even if you're collecting manually and writing it in your book, you don't have to use any technology to do that. Even if you're writing it with your pen and paper, It's also data collection, and then you're managing this data properly, and then you pick them up, pick them from all the different places where you collected them, evaluate them, and apply them critically. So for everything you try to do with that data, you criticize every decision you are making yourself. Even every decision that the data make, you criticize it. Why do you need to criticize it? You criticize it from when you want to criticize it, why criticizing it? It helps you detach yourself from the data. It helps you detach yourself that from the fact that you actually own this data. You will own the data, but you have to detach yourself from it to be able to criticize it. So you're going to give it an outsider view. So in every bit of the data literacy step, you will need to criticize it. You need to be critical so as to be able to dig out the truth, if that makes sense. All right, so, and now this data literacy thing encompasses a broader set of skills. It includes not just data analysis, but also the contextual comprehension of data roles in decision making. So it's not just about your ability to analyze data. You also need to find context. For instance, you have red color in a particular row. What is that red color doing on that particular number? The red color shouldn't just be there. It needs to make meaning. It needs to make sense. It needs to send a message. That's what the context behind it. If you're putting an image, the image needs to send a message. So you want to put sales. So you have an aggregated data. You say total sales. If you use a casual image and put it by the side of, to put it as an icon, an image by the side of total sales, it will not necessarily tell us that this image represents total sales. So if you need to use image, it has to represent what the number is talking about. So in all these things, you need to be analytical, and you have to also analyze in a contextual manner. You have to analyze within the context. Don't just use number carefully. Don't just use color the way you like. Don't use image the way you like. Let these things represent something. So the whole idea behind it is this person who is non-techie, who is not a data professional, who is not an IT person, should be able to see your dashboard and easily consume it. So when you look at some job interviews, they will say some ability to explain um, technical concepts to non-technical persons. Your dashboard should tell this story that will make it easy for anyone to consume your work data. And there is this the 5 seconds rule, 5 seconds rule in dashboard. What does that mean? Within 5 seconds, anyone who is consuming your dashboard should be able to get at least one meaning from your dashboard, at least one insight from your dashboard. If within 5 seconds nobody is able to get one insight from your dashboard, that's a failed dashboard. So now you see why you have to be very critical and very careful with everything you are doing. Do we have any question, or should I continue?
Continue.
All right, so let's move on. So a data literacy standard needs to be ANSI standard. It needs to be ANSI standard. And what does ANSI standard mean? First of all, ANSI stands for American National Standard Institution. So when we are installing SQL, I'm sure you heard of me. You heard of when I said ANSI SQL. That's like the general SQL dialect. That's the standard of SQL that everyone consumes. So your data literacy standard needs to uphold the ANSI standard, the American National Standard Institution, and be able to execute queries against database, evaluate data quality. I said this yesterday. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago? Conduct data analysis, which is what I have explained. Interpret results by analysis of results of analysis, and understand the ethics of using data. Now, let us go through them one after the other. So the ethics of using data, you need to be able to recognize the ethical implication related to the data you are using. And this ethical implication includes data privacy, security, and biases. Now, I need to make something clear here. This ethical implication leads to a career called data governance. Data governance.
Can you say again, please?
This ethical implication, the ethical usage of data leads to a career called data governance. All right, so I will use this to challenge Fola. I like the fact that you have a sound voice. You have, Fola, are you with me? All right, so I promise not to disturb you. So you have a very strong voice, and that's a kind of voice that you use to convince people. Imagine using this sound voice, this strong voice, merging it with the rules that govern data. Merging it with the rules that govern data and become data governance experts or specialists. Imagine that. That means you go and learn things like GDPR, go and learn those rules, NDPR for our country. Is it HIPAA, HIPAA or HIPAA? There are several of them. You could also be called a compliance professional or consultant in your company. So what I'm trying to say is, because of ethical usage of data, we have a career called data governance. It's actually a job in a company, and it's not a job you can ignore if you are collecting data as a company. So if you have a software product that collects data from people, you cannot, it's either you get someone who is handling this in a company, or you employ someone. So it could be another person, a data analyst who will come and do this, or you employ a professional who will do this. Otherwise, your product may not see the light of the day. And when it is beginning to see the light of the day in a place like Europe, they will bring it down. So data governance is important. And because of this is now leading to because of this, the success of GDPR that is followed by other companies, we now have AI governance. So last month, that's EU AI Acts, EU AI Acts. So we're expecting all the countries in EU to approve it and it becomes a law. So when this happens, if you are a company that has, if you are a company that, implement AI in your product, you need to ensure that you have an AI governance person who will easily tell you the right thing, whether you're doing the right thing, or ensure that you are ensure compliance. That's basically it. So to be this AI governance person, you need to first of all be a data person. So imagine being that top voice on data and AI governance. That is a job on its own. Why am I saying this? In case you do not have the flair to write code, this is a place for you, but you will be the one that will talk about your market. You'll be the one that will, you will have to announce it for everyone to know that you are a top voice and a proponent of data governance and AI governance in every company. And people will start seeking for your attention. That is something I am sure of, to know that whether they are doing it right. All right, so that is it, is that one. Um, so as I said, in the use of ethical usage of data, need to recognize ethical implications related to data, which includes privacy, data privacy, security, and biases. Data literate individual in, need to understand the ethical consideration when handling and interpreting data. For every step you are taking in trying to interpret your data, you need to also be conscious of the ethical implication. All right, so let us move on. So I've talked about the ANSI, talk about all these one. These are part of, okay, so I've not talked about the data quality one. All right, so as a data literate professional, or as a data professional who must be data literate, you need to ensure the quality of data of your data need that your quality of your data is of standard. You cannot come out and give data that cannot be trusted. I told us something yesterday that for you to say your data, for you to talk about data quality, your data needs to be correct and complete from the data source. That's the only time you can claim that your data is of good quality. All right, so then interpreting results of analysis, I've explained that. Understanding the ethics, I've explained that. Conducting analysis is part of this interpretation. So this is it about data literacy. Let's move on to some more explanation on this. If you have any question, please go ahead and ask while we move on. Do we have any question, guys?
What's the difference between evaluating of data quality and okay, don't worry, it's okay, don't worry.
All right. Let's see here in case you want to ask it. All right. So in the side of data collection, so as a data analyst, you will collect data, you will analyze data, visualize, and communicate data. These are the 4 different steps you need to pass through when you are, when you are, doing the job of a data analyst. Now, in terms of data collection, gathering and organizing data from various sources is something you must do. So when we talk about data literate, you need to understand these things. These things are things you will use. These are terminologies you will use, you will breathe every minute of the day as a data professional. You need to understand when we talk about flat files. And what are flat files? If I don't quickly say flat files, you need to know that flat files are simply CSV files. CSV files. And Excel is also a flat file. So some tools will not tell you flat file. They will just go straight and tell you CSV, Excel, and other things. So understand what they mean. Flat files, mostly CSV. We also have TSV. So what is the difference between this? Let's say you have a TSV stands for tab. You know the tab on your keyboard. So you have name, age, and the sex. So my name is Kingsley. Between here and here will be a tab. My age is 40. I am male. So between here and here, the space you're going to give between N and A, my name and my age, is tab. The tab by the left of by top right of your right left side of your keyboard. The space you're giving here is a tab space. It's not your space bar. Now, if you still have the same thing, name, age, sex, and again, Kingsley, who is 40 and is male. Now, look at this. The difference between this TSV and this is like this. That's the difference. This is the end. There's nothing here. And we'll call this CSV. Is CSV, sorry. This is comma separated value. These are the values separated by comma. These are the values separated by tab. And these are the common things you're going to be seeing out there. The most common one of all of them is CSV. That's what you'll be seeing. That's like the standard. Do we have any question on this? These things are terminologies you're going to use. Please, I would like you to ask all the questions you need to ask. Then the next type of file, the next type of data collection point or data source, because this data collection, these are data sources. Look at it, various data sources. So the data sources are the places where data live. We have talked about flat file, and I've given you an example. The next one is SQL. Of course, the SQL I've told you, we talked about, we have MySQL, Postgres, we have SQL Server, and others. And that is SQL. It's a data source. So when you hear about data source, know that SQL is a SQL database. It's the most popular data sources out there. Then the next is BigQuery. I'm sorry I told you about BigQuery, that we have about a few data warehouses in the world. We have BigQuery, which is owned by Google. We have Redshift, which is owned by Amazon. We had Synapse Analytics, owned by Azure, Microsoft. We have oh, forgotten the name. But we have a lot of popular data warehouses there. Don't forget, you can also build your own warehouse if you want here. But these other ones are much more efficient. They are built for data warehouse. Yeah, the other one I was trying to explain is snowflakes. So these are data sources. All the things I mentioned are data sources. Another one is API, Application Programming Interface. API is a data source. So software companies, or most companies expose the data they want you to get through API. So as a data professional, you need to be able to learn how to access data using API. And we will learn how to access API data using Power BI. Another data source is CRM software. Can you give me an example of CRM software, guys? Examples of CRM software, please. No response.
Is it Salesforce?
Yes, Salesforce is
What's
a CRM. Yeah. Is it only you? Fola and Peculiar? No response.
It's only, I think that it's just Salesforce I've heard of.
All right, so there are lots of them. We have like HubSpot. HubSpot is a very popular CRM out there. We have the one I have used, Insightly is a CRM. There are a lot of them out there. So many CRM software out there. So data can, in fact, as a matter of fact, most companies have their data in CRM. They don't have database. So they usually start with CRM. Over time, they grow, they move their data into a database. And then, of course, another one is having your data in a cloud platform on different data sources. These are different data sources. So as a data analyst, when you get your data, you will need to you need to apply statistical and analytical techniques to extract meaningful insight from data. Yeah, so you're going to apply what you call EDA, exploratory data analysis. That is the meaning of EDA, exploratory data analysis. Some people call it data wrangling. It's the same thing. Data wrangling, data analysis, exploratory data analysis. These things just mean the same thing. So let nobody bamboozle you with those terminologies, because if you know them, no one is going to make you feel bad that you don't know them. EDA, data wrangling, data analysis, they are just the same. They just mean the same. All right. So in the course of finding insight as a data analyst, for me, most of the major, some of the most important thing you will do most of the time, it's things like the central tendency. Central tendencies are things like your max, minimum, minimum, average. What else? Max, minimum, average.
mean?
Yeah, that's mean. Mean is
Yeah.
average. So you do things like mode and some other things. There are a lot of other um, central tendency you can do, like these are very popular ones, but you can also do things like standard deviation, variance. These things are central tendency, and these things are things you will know. Mind you, you're not going to pick number, count them, add them together, divide. No, you're not doing them. You have your software is going to easily help you do it with one line of code. You're good to go. You're not even writing the code. The code is already there for you to just click and implement. But you need to know what you want to implement before you implement them, which is the reason for this internship. So understand that for every dashboard you want to build, you will need to do your central tendency. Most times you will do your central tendency. I didn't also remember count. I didn't remember total. Oh, sorry, sum. So these are central tendencies you must do. So when you then become so good at what you do, you will then start doing some predictive analytics when you'll be predicting the future, when you would have found out what has happened, why the thing happened, then you start saying, okay, what will really happen? And then you start making recommendation. That is prescriptive analytics. So I have been in an interview where they asked me to explain what predictive analytics is, prescriptive analytics is. So please take note of them. So you get to understand that prescriptive analysis is you making recommendation. Predictive is making making prediction for the future. There is also things like diagnostic, trying to find out what is happening, what has gone wrong. So another thing is hypothesis testing. This thing is not something you want to run away from. I can see that one of our last intern who is seriously applying to jobs, she had done hypothesis testing in one of her interviews. So hypothesis testing is more of trying to find out if something, if an assumption is true or false. That's what hypothesis testing is. And then regression analysis and time series analysis. These things are terminologies you need to know. Can you please mute yourself? Where is the noise coming from? So these things are things you need to know. You need to know how they operate. You must not do them, all of them, but at least you need to know that they exist and what they mean. So from there, you also need to understand that as a data analyst, you need to visualize your data. So presenting your data in a clear, concise manner using charts, graphs, and other visual aids. So the most popular of all charts, it's usually the bar chart. Or the most, yeah, that's also the most popular. That's the bar chart. Now, because of the popularity of this, people tend to not use it. They tend to try to use a more difficult chart that is kind of beautiful, but difficult to understand. Now, I need to make you understand something. When you build a dashboard, you are not building it for yourself. You are building it for your consumers. So if you're not building it for yourself, you need to make as much as possible, keep it simple so that they will be able to consume it. Keep your dashboard simple so that your consumers can easily consume it. So yes, bar chart is popular, but always go for it. It is easy to understand. So you use bar chart when you have the category and measures. When you have categories and measures, you use bar chart. And what are categories and measures? So let's say you have a table. Your table is like this. You have the product name and you have sales. This product name is your category. So those ones that are not numbers that you can add, you can do arithmetic operation on. You can do any of these aggregation on. If it is not number, you can do arithmetic operation on or aggregation on, except count. Except count. If they are not a column, you can do aggregation on. I don't know what skip. Why is it keeps signing me out? You cannot. It is a categorical variable. Variable is another name for column. Another name for it is also variable column field. They all mean the same thing. So if it is not a number you can do arithmetic operation on, it is a categorical variable. If it's a number you can do, if it's a column you can do arithmetic operation on, it is a measure, or you call it quantitative variable. So when you hear measure, measure is just that column that gives you the sales. So measure is this column, it gives you the sales. So from these sales, if you're able to get another column called percentage percentage sales. This is called the matrix. This number that comes directly with your data set is your measure. The one that you derive from the measure is called your matrix. Please take note of this. This is a terminology you must learn, you must know. Category, nothing changes, it's just those things that are not measurable. They are just numbers. This category gives dimension to your data, to your measures. It gives more meaning, more insight to your measure. That's what category is. So for instance, if you have this total sales is 70. Okay, but we don't know by how it is spread. And let's say we have three customers, uh, Kingsley, Peculiar, and Francisca. How did they come up with its sales? So Kingsley came up with 10, Peculiar came up with 30, and Francisca came up with 30. This is your dimension. That is your category. It has now given context to your measure, to your total, to this your measure. So that's what, so in as much as that this is not number, it is one of the most important part of your tables. So please take note of it. When you have table, most times you are going to have things like revenue, which is the same thing as sales. We're going to have like profits, you're going to have all those in discount. But those calculations, those things are measures. But the calculation you derive from them are your metrics. And then it's from this metric you start getting your KPI, key performance indicators. We are going to go into that later. Does that make sense? Any questions so far? Any questions so far? So let's move on. Line chart.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry, I have to take you back a bit. This TSV and CSV, the major difference is just the comma that the CSV uses to separate the values, right?
Yes, CSV uses comma to separate. Then
Okay.
TSV uses tab. So if you see your keyboard, you will see tab after caps lock or before caps lock. Can you see that?
Oh, okay, yeah. Tab
Yeah,
button.
so that's what T stands, tab separated value. You use tab to
Okay.
separate the two values.
Oh, okay. Then another thing, please, please
Yeah.
explain this central tendency. I didn't quite get that when you explained it.
Yes, so when you have measures are these columns that have numbers like revenue, sales. These things are measures. When you have this, you are able to calculate to find one that is the maximum, that is your highest sales, your lowest sales, that is the minimum, your average sale, your total sales, that is the sum, most sales, that is your mode, the most occurring one. So it's just like aggregating all your column then you need to aggregate it by a particular category to know the particular group or name that came up with the most sales. Then the count is the total number of sales. Total number of sales different from sum of sales. So total number of sales could be like as we are here, three sales. We recorded three sales. These three sales, the sum of these three sales is 70.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, so that's it. Total number of sales is count. You're counting it. Okay, Kingsley, Peculiar, and Francisca recorded sales. Those are three sales. We recorded three sales.
Okay.
What is the sum of the cells? That is calculating the total number of cells. We have its sum of cells. What is the maximum cell? That is 30. What is the minimum cells? That is 10. And what is the average cells? We'll calculate the three of them divided by 3. And we have this divided is 2.5. 2 remainder 5. 3 divided what will it give us? 3 divided, that's 15, isn't it? So that would be like 21.5, is it?
2.3. 2.3333. That's what
Is
you
it 2.3333? Okay.
Yeah.
No, it can't be 2.333. You mean 23? It can't be 2.333 because when you multiply, it will not give you it will not give you that.
Oh, okay. 23.
So
23.
that's like
Okay,
70 divided by 3.
Okay, 23 point
Ah,
something here.
yeah, 23.333.
Just
So our average cell is 23.3.
yeah.
Does that make sense? Is it clear?
Yeah. Understand.
All right, good.
It's clear
So
now. Yeah. Thank you.
do we have another question? Another question, guys? All right,
No.
let's move on. So line chart is part of what we do. Line chart is when you want to understand your, let's say your revenue over time, over the past 10 months, over the past 50 days, 30 days, 20 days. You use line charts. Line chart is a standard. Please, someone, the child is making noise. Persistent. All right, so line chart is a standard for measuring, understanding your measure over time. Line chart is a standard. Please, when you want to, this is a standard. You can still use bar charts, but don't go use another thing. So bubble charts is not something I use all the time, but it's amazing if you can use it. So bubble charts, you can use it to understand the density of a thing, how big, let's say the population of an area, how the density is, the area that has the most population, like population density, you can use bubble charts to do that. You can still use it to understand the products that performed more. You can use bubble charts, that's also the density. So the bigger the bubble, the more the numbers. Histogram is used for distribution.
Sorry, Mr. Christo, before you go ahead. The
Yeah,
bubble chart, is it like a type that is used on geographical maps?
yeah, I think they use that exactly where they use mostly for population density.
Okay.
You just see it like this, and then you'll be seeing balloon, you will see a very big one, you will see a tiny one, you will see another tiny one. You are going to see that in Power BI.
Okay.
So, histogram is used for it's used for distribution. So you remember I talked about variance, I talked about standard deviation. So, and I'm sure you have heard about the word normal distribution. So, normal distribution. So when you heard about the word normal distribution, Gaussian distribution, bell-shaped distribution, these things mean the same thing. So a normal distribution means we usually have a bell shape for a normal distribution. So what happens here is most of the information, most of the numbers are in the center. That's what it means by normal distribution. So you use histogram to know the distribution. So you want to know, let's say you have a product, you have number of sales, you have sales, and then you bring all your sales, and then you want to distribute them by age grade. So that sales, you plot that your sales and your age grade on your age column on a histogram. So what you're going to get, you're going to get the numbers by the side on the y-axis and your age on the x-axis. So you're going to see how it distributes. You're going to be able to see the age distribution. Perhaps that's the point you will see, okay, I think we have the higher percentage of our most subscribers are between 10 and between 30 and 40 years old. You'll be able to know where the better concentration of your age lies, and you'll be able to see the mean. And then you'll be able to see the standard deviation. And what is the standard deviation? So if let's say we have this is the mean. So the mean is 2. So the standard deviation, it's anything by how many number do we, by how many number is it far from the mean? The mean is the average. So if this one is 3, so it is 1, this is 1 less than, 1 more than the standard. So this is like going to be like 1 standard deviation. It is 1 far from the median, or sorry, 1 far from the average or the mean. And as you go further, it increases. If you go backwards, it reduces. So that's what standard deviation is, but you don't have to bother yourself so much about it now. Later is something you start adding to your toolkit, your knowledge kit. All right, so area chart is just the same thing as line chart with a shade under it. Now, pie chart is something you have to be careful using. So as you see it, pie chart is usually like this. So I personally do not recommend more than 3. If you want to check compare the percentage distribution of things, you need across some category. Don't make it, when it is more than 3 categories, just use bar charts. It will be easier to understand that way. Please. So be careful when how you use pie charts. I don't use it all the time. I rarely use it. So be careful. So table is another very important stuff you need to use all the time, as much as you use. So the most important one you always use are table, bar chart, line charts. Sometimes you use his area chart. These are the most important ones. Then you can use this one sparingly. Of course, we also have some other charts that you can use, but these are very popular charts that people use out there, and it's important you know what they are and when to use them. So the next here we have in data literacy, we have data communication. So effectively conveying, after doing your analysis, you need to be able to convey your insight, your data-driven insight, to a diverse audience. So your audience could be, you need to understand your audience and know how they enjoy it. How do they access your data? You need to understand how they access data. Some access it via email. You need to send them their own through email. You need to understand different executive and the way they access it. Do they like using it, accessing it by phone? Do they like printed dashboard? How do they access it? You need to meet them at their point of accessing what they want. You need to use the right visual, and this again comes here. Please don't use something that will make them need you to explain what you have done. If they need you to interpret what you have done, then you need to work on your dashboard. So understand, you need to have a proper understanding of your audience. So let me explain what that means. So imagine you have audience who are in Saudi Arabia. Let's say imagine you have audience who is in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, and you want to give them dashboard. And your dashboard is like this. So you start writing the name of maybe your logo is here. You start writing the name of your dashboard here. And then you put the most important visual here. And then you put the least important here. This is usually the least important. Let nobody make you put pie chart as the most important. And then you have another visual here, the second most important. And then you have another one here. What do you think is the problem with, what is wrong with this chart? Remember your audience, those in Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar, Kuwait. What do you think is the problem with this dashboard?
It resembles the Quran.
What did you say?
It resembles the Quran.
It did what to the Quran?
It resembles the Quran.
It resembles the Quran. Okay, you need to try harder. Forget about the way this is will represent tests and the numbers, the normal dashboard, please. Forget about this stuff I wrote there. I just don't want to start typing something. Look at it as a normal dashboard. What do you think is wrong with it for your audience in Saudi Arabia?
Please tell us. Can't
No,
think of any. I
no,
can't think of anything. Saudi
peculiar.
Arabia. Do they have any?
Of course, we're expected to write our text in English here.
Expected to do what? Expected to do what, peculiar?
She said we're expected to write our texts in
That
English.
shouldn't be an issue. Like I'm trying to decipher what the issue might be.
Okay. All right, so let's go ahead. So now, your information, your logo is here, left. The name of your dashboard is here, which signifies very important position, unlike being on the left, top right. The most important report is here. Also significant, signify a very important position. So what is this about? This your audience from Saudi Arabia, when they want to read, especially when they want to read their stuff, read from right to left. That's the way they are. That's the way they read, they do their read. That's the way they learn it. So if you're building for them, the most important visual will be here, the top right. The least important will be here. So what does it mean by implication for those in the part of the world where we are? Whether Christians or Muslims in this part of the world where we are. By implication, we read from left to right. So this is why we have our dashboard like this. You have the most important here and the least important here. Because we definitely will start reading it from left to right. Does that make sense? And from top to bottom. To right, top to bottom. So by order, this is the most important, second, and then when you come back here, third, then this is the last. Make sense?
Adopted.
This I should repeat?
I said adopted, adopted.
Excellent. So that's how it is, and it's important. This is a very important thing you need to know. Okay, so understand your audience. That's what we just explained. So use PowerPoint, Google Sheets. So when you're done with your Power BI, you just export your data to PowerPoint. And the beauty of it is, since it's the same product, it's going to sync there. Your sliders and your filter will also sync properly there, and you'll be able to explain your work on PowerPoint. And you can also use email, depending on your consumers. Now, when I want to build, the standard way to build a dashboard, I will recommend, this is my recommendation, I will recommend using not more than 4 visuals. So you can see I'm always just keeping it at 4 visuals. The standard is not more than 6. But trust me, you go to some companies, they just have 1 or 2. It's very okay. What is not okay is having more than 6 visuals. Even 6 is it's too much, it's crowd. More than 6 visuals in a particular dashboard. It becomes difficult to interpret. Does that make sense, guys?
So what if you have so many things that you need to give out?
Excellent. You create tabs. You create tabs. You know how in Excel you create tabs? You can create those tabs in Power BI. That's a very nice
Okay.
question. You create tabs and put them there.
So if they want, they'll just click on the tab and it brings up the dashboard.
Exactly. Exactly. Any question, guys? No question. Beautiful. I can see everybody's enjoying this topic. And take note, all our videos are up to date now, including the one of last night. All right.
How do I search for the videos?
You need to follow
How do I
follow us. Go and follow us on our YouTube channel and click the bell icon so that you'll be the first to get notification. That's how they used to say it, isn't it? So please go and follow us.
You say that's how they used to say it.
I have not started. I'm learning. I'm learning the YouTube thing. All right. So I was Bona shared it, share the link, our link with you the other day. Can you please follow us so you'll be able to get all these things? So the next level beyond above data literacy is data fluency. When you have a knowledge of a thing, you begin to flow. Does that make sense? When you have a knowledge of a thing, the next level is begin to flow. So data fluency refers to the ability to understand, analyze, and communicate data effectively. in a problem and effectively in problem solving and decision making. So it involves not just interpreting raw data, but also comprehending its context. Remember, I mentioned that earlier. Context. This is a very important thing. You don't just put something there. There has to be a reason why you will put it there. Identifying patterns and deriving meaningful insight. This time around, you are a pro. That's what this thing is saying. Or that's what it is saying. So a data fluent individual can utilize various tools and techniques to work with data efficiently, regardless of its complexity. At this point, you begin to be a pro in data storytelling. How to start, can you know how you normally tell a story? That's how data storytelling works. You have a beginning, you have the end. I watched this video that said, if you want to make a presentation, start with the conclusion and then start explaining. So what does that mean? You come on, you have your dashboard. So here we have 15 million. You want to give we want to explain things to your audience, which is maybe the executive. So you say you start with the conclusion. In the past 3 months, in the past quarter, we made 15 million in revenue from 300,000 clients, from 30,000 clients. You have given them the summary. The next thing is you start explaining how this 15 million came about. So you will say, we made 15 million in the last quarter from 30,000 clients. And this client came from our US market. 15% of them came from our US market. 10% of them came from our UK market. 60%, 40% of them came from China, our Asia market. And then you come here, 30% of 70% of them are female, 20% of 35% of or 20% of them are male, and then the other 10 are unspecified. Does it make sense? Have I been able to present my dashboards to you guys?
Yes.
I started
Yes.
with this is a very effective stuff. It works. You start with the total. You have captured that. Everybody was like, okay, this is amazing. You mean we made 15 million in the last quarter from 30,000 customers? Okay, and then you start saying, okay, these are the distribution of the customers. We have 2% from UK, US market, Asia market, and by demography, we have 70% of them female, 60 and 30% of 20% of them male. This one is 10% is unspecified. So our biggest market buyers are female. Does that make sense? This is just
Yes.
how it goes. That way you'll be able to get the attention from beginning to the end. That's how to tell story, and it becomes so interesting. And that's during presentation. So, and of course, we've talked about ethics and then data-driven decision making. So in this case, you don't just make decision anyhow. You ensure your decision making is data-driven. And this is you ensuring that you detach yourself from the data, give the right information. But anyone who is, when you're making a recommendation, you're making it based off the right information, and you're giving the right information. The person that needs to make that decision and make the decision from the right information. So key principles of data ethics. So we have data storytelling, ethics, and data-driven decision, which I explained the other place in the previous slides. Data storytelling is the art of transforming raw data into compelling narratives that effectively convey insights and drive action. So that's it's the whole story about data storytelling. It's from data preparation, having a storytelling framework, and visual storytelling, communication style, and audience engagement. And I have just in a very short time explained this whole concept to you guys. So let's talk about ethics. And data ethics encompasses principles and guidelines for collecting, analyzing, and using data in an ethical and responsible manner. Your
I
data,
have a question, please.
let's go ahead and ask.
So this storytelling of a thing, how I want to understand how it works, because it's not all the dashboards that you present, like you stand in front of people or present. Is it that you write a short description of these things to attach to the email you're sending, or
Yes.
how does
Yeah,
it work?
so your first of all, you need to talk about earlier how you need to organize your dashboard. So
Yes.
your dashboard on its own will tell a story. You need to organize it such that at the top you have things like a simple summary of, okay, this is the total amount, the total sales is up there. Like all the things I just explained, it's actually there. If you are not there, you can actually see it. They can see it by, you can see the dashboard, the charts by demography, they can see it by region, they can see the total up there. It's for you to come there and say, if you need to do presentation, you wow them with your data. And when they ask you a question, you'll be able to answer them. Otherwise, that is what we call self-service BI. They will serve themselves dice, and they will filter and get the more granular data as they want. And it's actually that easy. Trust me, it is that easy. But you need to ensure that your data is easy for them to
Access.
consume. If it is easy for them to consume, you have told a very amazing story.
All right. Thank you.
You are welcome. So the data needs to be, you need to show transparency, accountability, fairness, privacy, non-malfeasance, and malfeasance. Oh, okay. So non-malfeasance and malfeasance. First of all, the transparency. I'm sure you have heard about what is passing through today. People are talking about where did ChatGPT and Google Gemini get the data they use to train their model to give us this amazing stuff. So people are saying it's obviously that they may have stolen data from, they must have had access to data, or they have used people's data without their permission. So it now becomes important that when you're doing anything about data literacy, you need to be transparent. You need to really be transparent, and you need to be accountable. You need to show accountability. You need to show fairness. Of course, you need to respect privacy. You need to respect privacy. So one would say non-malfeasance, or talking about you need to refrain from harming people, harming others through so let me explain it better. If you notice, Fola talked about the Quran trying to relate it to what I scribble on the dashboard. I explained that no, those things are meant to be English. So if you try to present your data to make people angry, maybe because of their belief, their orientation, you need to work on it. If your data actually makes some people angry, your dashboard actually makes some people angry, you need to work on it. And then the maleficent is you also deliberately, refers to deliberately causing or spreading harm. So non-maleficent refers to refraining from harming others. So look at it from this perspective. So this, because you're refraining from harming, you're refraining from harming people. Because you're refraining from harming people, you entertain bias. So you need to learn to balance this situation. And this one is intentionally trying to harm people. Is this clear? Guys?
It's not clear. You are using
It's not clear.
two different words
The two of them are
within the
contradicting
same,
our
right?
brain.
Exactly. No maleficence, maleficence.
Maybe we should
What
go to
what I say,
Google.
you are using go, you are using come at the same time.
Yes,
No,
why do I have to? But that is the work. That is the work of a data professional, because you're trying to create a balance. You're trying to create a balance. That's what you end up doing. You don't want to offend a group of people. Because you don't want to offend a group of people, or with their orientation, you end up not giving out the information you're supposed to give out. So and then you entertain bias. You're not straightforward, you're biased. This one is intentionally want to offend this group of people. I don't care. I want to offend them. All right. Some time ago, UK brought out the data and they said the group of people that has the most dependent are Nigeria. Nigeria has the most dependent from those who are coming here to study. And China has the least people without dependence. As India, of course, with the most number of people who are studying here, but so China has the least people with dependents. India has the most people studying here. Nigeria has the most people with dependents. So in this case, what is happening here is UK government could try not to offend Nigeria by saying, by trying not to say Nigeria has the most dependent. It could say those coming from West Africa have the most dependent, so as to avoid, offending a particular country. They could also go to the extreme and say Nigeria has the most dependent, and this is not acceptable. So that moment when they make it open that way, they are being maleficent. That moment where they say try to use some careful word instead of saying Nigeria, using West Africa, they are being non-maleficent. Don't want to offend a group of people. This place, you are intentionally offending this group of people, but because you don't want to offend a group of people called Nigeria, You are sinking them in their region called West Africa. Now it becomes like a small region like Senegal, who is in West Africa, will feel bad because they don't even mostly come to UK. They go to France. Does that make sense? So, and that means you are entertaining bias because you're trying not to offend some people. So you need to create a balance. I think that's the most I can explain there. Can we go and make more research?
It's clear enough, sure. Yeah.
Okay, let me erase this.
So I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
In trying to be non-malefficient now,
Yeah,
does it also entail maybe tilting what's the word now? Trying to manipulate our data in order to give a false result or a misinterpretation of what we actually meant to interpret.
that's
Because
what that's what it's trying to tell you. Try not to be non-efficient.
wait, we should try not to
But how can
become,
you be malefficient and not malefficient at the same
because you
time?
can't be both at the same time.
Uh, that's the balance we're talking about, and that is our world. So you're
because
trying to
because
be,
the results on the dashboard are already saying Nigerians have this highest number of dependents coming in.
and that is the right
Let's say we
result.
do it according to the first, second, and third, or first, second, third, and last. Like the stakeholders or people's viewers are already seeing it on the dashboard, maybe in the summary part. And you're while you're now interpreting it, you're now like keeping Nigeria, like you're not calling it Nigeria, you're calling it South West Africa. Is that not
That's being biased.
trying to fool
I
yourself?
think it's more about trying to explain that the objective of the person displaying the data is what's paramount in this situation. Whatever the objective of that data is what will determine that malfeasance or non malfeasance.
So
That's my own understanding of it.
I like how we are being critical about this whole thing. But this thing is about not offending some group of people, but in a way not to offend them, you are now offending another group. That's usually what the problem is. And then you are entertaining bias. So you need to try not to entertain bias and still say the truth. Well, that's ethics. You're not entertaining bias and you're still saying the truth. This is this is also the question. This question you asked, the last group also asked it. Yeah, it's in order. Trust me, it's in order. All right, so let's talk about data-driven decision making. In an approach to decision making that uses data and analytics to inform and guide choices, you need to collect data, clean the data, analyze data, visualize data, and make decision. Of course, the last one is action plan. So the next stage now is having a data literacy framework, which I'm going to challenge everyone here to make research for us to create data literacy framework. If you can go about it, if you can go about building that, like build it collaboratively, not individually, collaborative work, data literacy framework. So you can go about building it for PrimeSoft and have it in your resume. So let's say you find yourself in a company, you want to assess their current state. Okay, their current state, everyone is just doing what they like. You want to train them on data literacy. You need to define your objective. What do you want to achieve at the end? Then you can then design the training program. And this program needs to promote data-centric culture and encourage continuous learning. It's not like after you explain it, everybody should just go with it. Everybody will just have it in their head and disappear. No, they will need to continuously learn. And then after learning it, they need to integrate it in every workflow. And then continuously will keep iterating, keep learning, keep evaluating what do we need to add and what do we need to remove. These are the steps you can use to create a data literacy framework. Do you guys think we can do it before the end of our internship?
Yes, we'll try.
That go and
Well,
add it. You're
it
going
will
to
make
add it.
sense.
What did you say?
It will make sense.
Yes, so you're going to do it. You are going to collaborate on teams to do it, and then go and add it in your team charter as something you want to do together. All right. So, any question? Question times, guys. All right, so no question. Anyway, you've been asking questions. Okay.